Hi, I'm Olivia, dietitian here at the MLK Health Center and Pharmacy, and today we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting has a few different definitions, but basically it is where you fast for a period of time and then you have a period of time where you're eating. So for some, they practice it where they're fasting for maybe a full 24 hours and they're alternating days. But I think most commonly people think of it as you're fasting for a portion of your day, and then you have an eating window. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. There are different times of fasting. So you can fast from anywhere from 14 to 18 hours. It's just going to depend on where you're starting off. So if you're new to fasting, it might be better to have a larger eating window and a shorter fast, and then slowly work your way down to a smaller eating window with a larger fast. The eating window can be anywhere from 4 hours to 10 hours, and the rest of the time would be fasting. So when you eat is going to depend on what works best for your schedule, when you would prefer to eat. Some people prefer to eat in the mornings, and maybe you'd be okay fasting late in the evenings and through the night. And then some might prefer to fast through the night into the morning and then have their eating later in the day. So that might look like you have an eating window from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That would be a 10-hour window, and you'd be fasting the rest of the time. If you had a 6-hour eating window, that might look like eating from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., and then you fast the rest of the afternoon, evening. If you're eating in the afternoon, evening, a 10-hour eating window might look like eating from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then you'd fast for the rest of the time. Or if you had a 6-hour eating window, that might look like you eating from 12 noon to 6 p.m. or 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. and then the rest of the time you would be fasting. So during the fasting window, you are not consuming any calories. It's fine to drink water. You can have black tea or black coffee, but we don't want to consume anything that has calories. So no sugar or creamer in tea or coffee. It's even best to avoid artificial sweeteners. Even though they don't have calories, some of them can break a fast. So we do want to avoid those entirely. The last meal should be a few hours before bed. If you're having your eating window in the afternoon, evening, we do want there to be some time between your last meal and bedtime. So if you go to bed 9 p.m., 10 p.m., it's best to finish eating by 7 and try not to eat past that. If you do stay up late, if you work later into the evening and you stay up late, it would be fine to have an evening meal that is a little bit later. But we do want to make sure that there is a couple of hours between our last meal and bedtime so that our body has time to digest it before we lay down for bed. Some of the pros for intermittent fasting is that it does give our body just a break. It gives our digestive tract a break during the day so it's not constantly working. After a period of fasting, our insulin sensitivity rises and our insulin levels fall. Excessive insulin in our body can increase the creation of fat cells. It can increase inflammation, and it also increases our risk for heart disease and diabetes. So by fasting, if our insulin is more sensitive, then our body requires less. And so there's a pro for intermittent fasting. Some cons for fasting is that it does require eating on a schedule. This works best when you are consistent from day to day. And so if that's something that you're not able to do, then this might not be for you. This is also why it is beneficial to start with a larger eating window and then just kind of slowly work down to something that is sustainable for you. That might only be an 8-hour eating window. Maybe you're just not able to go less than that because of your schedule and your hunger levels, and that's fine. So just do what works best for you. Other risks or cons for intermittent fasting is that it does put you at risk for low blood sugar, especially if you take any sort of anti-diabetic medicines. whether you're taking insulin or sulfonylureas that actually do lower your blood sugar. So it's very important for you to talk to your doctor before you start fasting if you're on any of these medications, or really just before fasting at all. Other risk for intermittent fasting is that you could be at risk for some macro or micronutrient deficiencies. So it's important that while you were eating your meals during your eating window, that your meals are balanced. And what is helpful for this is to follow the plate method. So in the plate method, you have your standard 9-inch dinner plate, and you can imagine that there's a line down half of it, and half of our plate we want to be non-starchy vegetables. The other half of our plate we divide in half again, and a quarter of it would be our starchy vegetables, grains, and then the last section of the plate would be your protein. So meat, eggs, fish, chicken, something like that. With your meal, if you want, you could also have a serving of fruit or serving of milk, yogurt, just depends on what you're eating. Following the plate method at your meals during your eating window can ensure that you're getting all your food groups, and so you'd be at less risk for any macro or micro deficiencies. It's also important to drink plenty of water while fasting. Sometimes when we aren't eating, we might not think about drinking water, so it's still important to consume water regularly throughout the day, whether you're fasting or it's during your eating window, so you can ensure that you're well hydrated. Something else to remember while during your eating window is we still want to have some time in between our meals and snacks. So I know it might be tempting when you're in your eating window to think, oh, I only have so many hours to eat, I need to get all the food in. That's not necessary. That kind of contradicts the goal of intermittent fasting. We still want to have a minimum of 2 hours between our meals and snacks. When we eat, our blood sugar goes up. That's for everybody. So we want to allow our bodies to have time to digest the food and for the blood sugar to come back down before we eat more food, whether it be a meal or a snack. So even during that eating window, we do want to have some time in between our meals and snacks to ensure that we're just not feeding any high blood sugars. If this is something you feel like you would like to try, be sure to talk to your doctor and before you get started with that. If you liked this video or you're interested in any more health and wellness videos, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Thank you.